Hello, my name is Anthony Bishop, and this video will detail my my theoretical approach to teaching information literacy. In my approach, I blend, whether it's face-to-face, hybrid, or online, I blend various learning styles and theories into my lecture, from a traditional lecture, chalk and talk, and I also incorporate social learning, think, pair, share, and I incorporate the use of Web 2.0 tools in each of the courses, whether it's face to face, online, or hybrid. Now, after I provide the introduction and I qualify myself, I always start off with a clear depiction of the learning outcomes and objectives of the course. I think this is important to provide students right away up front what the expectations of the course, what they can expect to gain, and the objectives of each week, or the overall objectives for the one shot session. So this here is a foundational list of learning outcomes as well as objectives. And I use a scaffolding approach where I take them step by step of effectively researching around a topic, which starts off, as you see here, with the first learning outcome that students will be able to effectively identify topics from research prompts. And then from there, once you have your topic identified, you want to be able to transform a topic into a targeted research question, that is topic narrowing. From there, you want to be able to identify the keywords from that question or statement that was made, because I always explain to the students that those words are the words that will get you to the right sources quicker, saves you time, makes you a effective researcher. And then the next step is how to identify or decipher between resource types, scholarly versus non. And then finally, once you have your sources, once you've gathered your sources, how to incorporate outside research effectively according to various citation guidelines, MLA, APA, so on and so forth. Here you also see the three learning objectives I have. So where I I like to make it clear up front what my students can expect from me each time that I walk into a classroom, either physically or virtually. I want my students to know what they should hold me accountable. And as you see, I have just always clearly shown through the outcomes and the learning objectives. And number two, the objective number two, I think, is foundational, and I always spend time um, focusing on this, that the purpose for any college student, no matter what their program, what course they're in, when you enter college, each college student should leave with critical thinking skills. And I stress that day one up front, or at the beginning of my one shot um, information literacy class. And so I do things a little different. I'll show you an example here. I also let my students know what what their roles and duties as. So here you want to see, this is an e-portfolio I created for a course that's a online course, and I have a page, a web page on my website for this that clearly shows each student what I expect, what their roles and what their duties are as e-learners. So you see here, I have three duties and roles that each student or each learner should expect, and that I am holding them accountable for. So number one, make sure that each course objective has been met by the teacher. That's something that I stress, that it's not just on the teacher to give the objectives, it's on the student to make sure that they have retained them and that they hold the teacher accountable for every learning objective throughout the course or the session. Number two, I think is very important, just which aligns with the objective of building critical thinking skills, to evaluate the learning outcomes and do personal assessment to make sure those are obtained and retained. This goes hand in hand with critical thinking skill development. And I let my students know up front that this is what they should be holding themselves accountable, that each activity, if it's a quiz, if it's a test, if it's an assignment, if it's just a workshop, if it's just going online and searching through was searching through various databases, that they should do self-assessment to make sure that they have properly understood and retained what the purpose of each activity and each objective is. And then the last one I think is very critical too: hold the teachers up to a standard of providing current, up to date tools, resources. And this is where I tell students to challenge information. That's the foundation of information literacy. Don't just take someone's word for it. You, as a learner, have the same access to go and challenge and fact check and make sure that what is being claimed, what is being given, is accurate and up to date and current. So I um, hold both myself as the teacher and I hold my students accountable for the roles and duties that we both have. And I tell them up front, this is a marriage for either the one session or the course. We both have duties that we have to be held accountable for, me as a teacher and them as learners or students. Then the next prompt I'll show you will provide an example of where I continue with my lecture. The next step after identifying your topic, I think, is one of the most important foundational pieces of information literacy, and that's topic narrowing. That is taking a broad topic and creating the focus around your topic, and which will result in a research question or statement. This is a Word document that I use the 5W method, that will the who, what, when, where, and why, that will break down the concept from taking your broad topic and then having that topic narrowed to a particular area of focus. And I show them that each of the 5Ws do not have to apply when you are creating a question or a statement. It's picking the ones that apply to the focus. So if you're doing a argumentative research project, you would use different W's than you would maybe if you're using or if you're doing a more informative research project. And so from there, I provide an example of taking a broad topic, politics, as you see here, and using the 5W method and creating a research statement here. And I always explain to them, if I took the word politics or the topic politics just on its surface and I put it into a search engine such as Google or a particular database, I would get back a massive amount of content that may not pertain to what my focus is. So I showed them here that it's important from from once you have your topic identified to creating and narrowing that topic and creating the focus around that topic by developing a research question. So here I give them this example. After the topic of politics, then I created this statement: the FBI's investigative tactics after 9/11 terrorist attacks were criticized by the UN because it believed the agency wrongfully profiled against Muslim citizens living in the US. Now, the next step After this, I show them how to identify the keywords. Once you have your topic identified, your topic narrowed, then you will identify what are the most important word or words in that statement or question that you made. And you see here, I have the keywords that I have color coordinated so that it's easy to identify for the learners. And then I walk them through the step of pulling out those keywords, and those are the words that they would use in a search query, in a search engine. So they wouldn't put politics or the entire statement or question that they made. They would just pull out the most important word that drives that statement or question. Now, I have an example here of how I use Web 2.0 tools. This is an actual assignment prompt or activity prompt that I use following this unit 2, which is about creating a research question. So you see here, I kind of restate. I always, in my activity prompts, I try to provide some outside expert data to just reinforce some of the things that I've said in the lecture. So I will typically provide an outside source just to qualify it even more of the point that I made in my lecture. And you see here where I have restated the 5 W's, things that I've covered in the lecture. And then I break down the activity clearly. So it says that this assignment for this unit requires that students create research questions for each of the 5 topics. And so I flush out the topics that they have here. And I'm giving you an abbreviated version. So I've restated that example that I gave them, but the topic is politics and the question that I created from that. And then I have the activity here. So where they have to create 5 questions using the 5W method, given and that they have to include the topic and the research question together in a Word or a Google Doc. And so here's where I use, so where it creates, this is important for online learning as well as face-to-face. You still want to create that social learning, that social bonding, community bonding between students. And so whether it's a face-to-face class or a hybrid or a learning class, you can still create that culture of students coming together, think, pair, share. And so here I prompt them whether they had to create the list of their topics and their questions. And I actually had them create an Adobe Spark video, and I provided a tutorial on how to use it, gave them a link to the actual prompt that I created for the class. And then I would have them once they had the video created, they would have to post a link to the video and would have to review two other videos and provide critique of both videos. Quickly here. Also wanted to show you another assignment that I created for a marketing class. This was an actual activity that I created. You can see the date here where I had them use eMarketer database, 2 actual databases, and they had to find information that could be found on both of through both of those databases and create a reference list in APA format. And also, here is an example of a rubric that I created for that unit. So this gives you an example of how I apply the various theories into my one shot or my overall course lectures in information literacy. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to meeting you all on Monday.